All right, let me prepare this, and prepare this.
I'm not sure where this is going. You know what's happening on these things.
These are things that I wore for the entire journey, and they were cut off of me recently. They cut every single piece of my clothing off.
Who did? Wait, who's they? Yeah, who's they?
Well, you'll hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I've experienced a tremendous variety of things over the course of my life. I've tried my best to pay attention. And I've tried hard to comprehend myself and others. I've lived as full a life as I know how. I've laughed often. I've forgiven myself and others. I've acquired the priceless treasures which cannot be seen. They cannot be lost. They can't be stolen. And they never decay over time. My treasures are eternal. They're not for sale.
It's up there. We're taking it tomorrow.
They are grafted into my very soul. I've built things. Childhood forts, carvings, a soapbox derby car, gifts for friends and family, cages for pet animals, a motorhome from a bread truck that I paid $100 for. Did every square inch of it. It was bright orange. Had a great round bicasa dodecahedron study chamber on top of it. My friends dubbed it the Secret of the Universe van. That was my escape pod from Florida to New Hampshire 35 years ago. I built a dome in a swamp on land that I did not own, just so that I could learn how to do it. I built theater sets. I built my own hydroplane when I was 15, 16 years old. I built a crossbow, carved it by hand, made the bow part out of a spring, leaf spring out of an automobile. I built rectangular homes. I've spent 30 years on the most unique dome duplex in all the world. I built other domes for friends. I worked on an oil refinery. And much, much more. I've owned things that I paid for with money which I earned working on a variety of jobs. Bicycles, cameras, motor scooters, motorcycles, vans, trucks, a factory-made motorhome, a sailboat whose hull I sandblasted and fiberglassed, parcels of land, domes already mentioned, tools of all kinds of descriptions, and of course the now many ubiquitous electronic gadgets. You want to know something? None of my possessions ever gave me as much pleasure as learning something new, as going on an adventure, or discovering a new good friend, or making love with a lover who delights in the give and take of unashamed, shared, sensual pleasures. As a kid, I really never had a peer group. I had occasional pals, but most of them went home to a mom and dad and siblings. I did not. They did their homework and their parents took them to sports practices and band practice and were interested in their extracurricular activities. That was not my experience. So, not much common ground. Not really a peer group. When my school pals were doing their homework and practicing sports or band, I was out soliciting new customers for my paper route, or delivering papers, or collecting past due debts, or making things alone. My working career began when I was 6. I delivered the Cleveland Plain Dealer to 8 or 10 different customers. I vended balloons in a park in Chardon, Ohio. I sold Cloverine brand salve, door to door, that I got from a comic book ad. I sold additional subscriptions door to door to several different newspapers that I worked at, different places that we resided. I washed windows. At 14, I humped 50-pound sacks of flour up 2 flights of stairs at the back of Sam Sabatini's pizza joint in Wildwood, New Jersey on the boardwalk. And I mixed the dough and I baked the pizzas while sporting a mohawk haircut. While my contemporaries imitated the hairstyle of rock and roll icons. I was the operator. I went to work for another group called, after I quit Sam Sabatini's because the son didn't like me. And I told him, he asked me to scrape the dough off the floor, and I took my apron off and I said, fuck you. Why don't you fucking scrape the dough off yourself? And I left. And I went to work for Carl and Ramagosa. And I became the operator of a 100-year-old carousel with carved wooden horses. And I operated the bubble bounce. I could make guys puke every morning on Sunday morning. They wanted to empty their guts. It spun around like this, and it was like a hydraulic thing. I was like 15 years old. There was a spray thing. It was like a Lexan thing in front. And I could make them puke. They spun these wheels like this, and I go boom, 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 and like 3 minutes, dude. 3 minutes. Okay. And I also operated called the Flying Tiger ride, and I always delighted of checking the cars because people would lose their change in the cars. So yeah, it was a Flying Tiger. Also on the boardwalk in Wildwood, New Jersey. I washed dishes in country clubs and restaurants. I bussed tables. Once I bussed tables at a Sheraton hotel where my high school was holding its senior prom. I worked that night. I went upstairs to watch like what they were doing, how it was, like what is this prom stuff like. And I worked at night. I was a military journalist, 71Q20. I worked at a rubber manufacturing and batching plant. 4 months I spent as a mate on a drift fishing boat for tourist boats. Night shift work, I worked at a sprinkler head plastic injection molding factory. I've been a professional salesman of vending machines, cars, and real estate. Oh yes, real estate license, the whole 9 yards. I had my own remodeling business. I worked at all manner of construction jobs. Commercial, residential, and heavy industrial at the Hess Oil Refinery on the island of St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. We had 3,000 workers, largest single oil refinery on planet Earth at the time. I was a professional stretch limousine chauffeur for 14 years. One of the best. And there's still more. And I resided for various years in Ohio, Florida, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and New Hampshire. I've hitchhiked 15,000 miles across the United States, back and forth. I've been to Canada, Bahamas, Haiti, Puerto Rico, all U.S. Virgin Islands, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Dominica, Belize. I rollerbladed across the United States of America to create a national unity event that I called Liberty Stand. From in the fall and the summer of 2002. That was the beginning of my liberty education. I'm wondering, gee, why aren't the newspapers covering this? And it dawned on me, well, there's somebody that doesn't really want an authentic grassroots movement to ever occur in the United States of America. So I spent, thousands of hours reading, as Mike Ruff here would say, source documents, stacks of them, to catch up on an education I'll never get in public school. I've motorcycled across the USA, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and I spent four different boats, 8 days to cross the Darien Gap, across the Cunayala country in the San Blas Islands, to get from Isla Carti to Colombia, where I continued the motorcycle journey south through Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, and Paraguay, where I got new teeth in a town called Hohenau, which is, as it happens, the place where a fellow by the name of Joseph Mengele spent his last days. And I most recently spent 6 months exploring the river regions of the upper Amazon, the Rio Napo, the Rio Marañón, the Rio Huallaga, the Rio Ucayali, and the Amazon itself as far as Leticia. I'm a father of a wonderful son of about 35. I was a husband for 8 years. I have outlived my mother, who died at home at the age of 54. My father and brother and I cared for her during her last years with terminal cancer. She drank herself to death. Both of my half-brothers, each of us, which had different biological fathers, are also dead. One drank himself to death. The other died of cancer. My father died in my arms. I held him as he drew and exhaled his final breath. My only biological family left is my son, the son of my eldest half-brother, and the daughter of the one who killed himself with alcohol. But I have made many, many friends to make up for those holes in my life. I consider you all my swan family, ugly duckling style. Yes, it's true. I have been and done and experienced all of those things.